This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our virtual open house. We are Brain Balance of San Diego. Tonight's big topic is teaching independence. I know this is a big topic for so many families, something that we work on quite a bit at the center or with the kiddos that we support and the families that we support. And we do support quite a wide range from age 4 to 24, and we have the whole range right now. And thank you to everyone who registered and inputted their challenges and needs, and we'll hopefully be able to address a lot of that throughout this presentation. And if not, and if you have specific questions to you, that's fine too. Go ahead again and enter that into the chat box. So once again, I do have Coach Chanel joining me today. She'll be co-presenting. She'll jump on with her camera in a little bit. And we also have Kenny, our center coordinator, who will be monitoring the chat box. Okay. So today, what are we covering? We're gonna do a little tour of Brain Balance San Diego. It is a virtual open house after all. You know, who are we and what are we about? Then we'll dive right into what is independence, and then talk a little bit about executive function skills. Maybe that's a word you heard of, maybe you haven't, but you'll learn that it goes hand in hand with independence. And then, of course, you're here for the tips. We're gonna give you some real hands-on tips that you can apply right away. And then after all is said and done, you know, if Brain Balance can help you further, we'll let you know what we do, okay? And then Q&A, like I said, at the end. So let's go on a tour. I will actually turn off my camera so you can see the screen better. All right. Did that work? Good? Okay. So welcome to Brain Balance. This is the front of our center. We're currently in Carmel Mountain, but I'm really excited to announce we will have another center in Chula Vista coming soon. And when you come through, let me show you. Uh, and I'll do my best to go slow. Oh, sorry. Still on presentation mode. Let me get it off the presentation mode. Is that better? My camera's off. Okay, let's get this going. Okay, camera back on and off presentation mode. I reversed that. I thought I was supposed to get the camera off, but that doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, so hello, this is Kenny. We have Miss Chanel here. When you come through, my office is just around the corner, so I am always saying hello to the kiddos and the parents that come through. Pre-COVID, we would have had a lot of families hanging out in our lobby, bonding and mingling. But these days with COVID, we do have pretty strict measures. So we stagger when kids come in, they get ready at the station here. Everyone gets temperature checked and washes their hand around the corner. And then they get started right away. In our center, we do have 4 large spaces for independent rooms. Currently, we are doing a 1-to-1 model instead of 1-to-2, and only, at least right now, 1 set of coach and student in a room at a time. So it's quite personalized already, and even more so to keep everyone safe. As you can see, this is a pretty fun looking room. It's non-clinical and it's not a tutoring space where the kids have to sit and stare at, you know, their homework. They're very hands-on, very active. You can see over here some medicine balls, monkey bars that the kids love playing on. These mats where they work on their core and gross motor skills. They also work on balance, their vestibular system spinning in that chair. They do work on fine motor skills as well, and auditory processing, as well as visual processing on the tablet. And there is some academic skills training in addition to that. But the kids essentially get through over 30 different exercises in the hour that they're with us. And yeah, it's fun, it's hands-on, it's really engaging, and it helps support a lot of these neurodevelopmental disorders that our students have. Maybe they're struggling with attention and focus, maybe it's some sensory processing, maybe it's behavior, whether it's social skills or it's academics as well. All right, so I'm going to reshare my screen. It really doesn't matter if they have a diagnoses. What we're here to do is build that foundation for them to really succeed and thrive at school, at home, and in the community. So we see a big range of students, and I know those who are on the presentation today are registered, had a lot of different challenges as well. So please feel free to ask me specifically if you have some other challenges that aren't listed here. But again, we serve a big range because the challenges academically, socially, behaviorally that our students and families are facing tend to do with the immaturities in the brain, how it's all connected. And I'll talk more about that later on. All right. Okay, so the first question, it's going to be a little engaging. I'm going to ask you, what is independence? What is your idea of independence? If you can type into the chat box, I'll give you about 10, 15 seconds to do that. I would love to see what everyone's idea of independence is so that, A, I make sure I address it appropriately. So I think there's Sarah and Rosanna. What is your idea of independence? What do you expect? Coach Chanel, you can jump on with your camera as well and you can pipe in. We both hear a lot of challenges with students and the parents wanting different types of independence. So, what are some things that you've heard? Sarah said being capable and willing. Yeah. And then Rosanna said doing things by yourself. Yeah, for sure. That autonomy and no prompts, right? And being responsible. Yeah, we're going to cover that today. Chanel, do you have any other ideas that parents have thrown out to you? I'll share some of my own as well.
Yeah, I have a couple that I can think of. Being able to sit down and do their homework without any prompts, so knowing exactly what they need to do and getting it done on time is a big one that shows independence.
Great. And self-care is another big one. I have a lot of students who, as they get older, I think we have someone here with ASD and they're older, right? But that self-care is not quite appropriate for them to be truly living independently. Having agency, being good decision makers, I think that's important to me, and having accountability too. So, so why is it important? What do you think? Why is having independence important? If you can also type into the chat box, think about that. Why is being independent important in general and to you or for your kids? You're on this workshop for a reason. Why is independence important? Thank you, Rosanna. She said it's important because you won't depend on someone else. Yeah, because you're not always going to be around for them, right? I have a lot of parents who worry about that. If something happens to them or as they get older, they're not going to be able to be there for their child and support them when they're adults. And then Sarah and Daryl said part of life, and it's important because it's a part of life and important for leading a happy, healthy life. I agree. Yeah, and so this is important to ask yourself constantly the why, right? Everything you do, the decisions you make, the things you say, I always like to ask, so what, right? Why? Coming back to your why is always important. And what you just said, come back to that regularly. Why are you trying to get them to do X, Y, or Z? And helping them understand that why as well and getting them to answer why for themselves. That is huge. One thing to think about is parents tend to parent to get through the day. And understandable, right? Life is hard, life gets in the way, and sometimes you just need to get through that moment. But ultimately, we need to think about how to parent for the long term, for the whys that you mentioned, right? Independence in the as adults, because they're not going to be always be able to rely on someone else, right? And it's an important, healthy part of life to be able to be on your own and take care of yourself, and for someone not to worry about you, right? I had a assessment chat this week, and one of the important answers that parent gave me in his concerns was he didn't want to always have to worry if she's out of sight for 5 minutes. What is she going to be up to? Is she going to be safe? So safety is another important reason too. So independence and executive function. I mentioned earlier, this is a word you may or may not know. Executive function is a really important component of independence. Independence is the outcome. Executive function is the actual skill that gets you those independent traits that everyone may be looking for. All right, so Ms. Chanel is going to talk about what exactly is executive function.
Awesome. Yes. So executive function skills, I like to think of these as the building blocks of how we get things done. Anything that we do in our day, they stem from something that we've worked on throughout our lives, whether it's our ability to organize our time, our physical space, ourselves, information, all of those things towards achieving short-term and long-term goals have to do with executive functioning skills. and they are not something that we are born with. These are things that you have to learn and you have to develop and you have to foster at every age in your life. So time management when you're a young child is going to look so different from time management when you're an adult and you have a job, right? So we need to start building those building blocks early on in life so that we can lead towards that independence that we're looking for. So some examples of executive functions, there's a lot here on the screen, but I'll kind of group them together that of the skills that go together. So we have behavior, impulse control, emotion, self-regulation, response inhibition. Basically, this is our ability to think before we act. It's how we manage our emotions, and it's how we thrive in stressful situations. We have problem solving, flexible thinking, self-monitoring, and motivation. So this is our ability to adapt to change. It's our the ways that we problem solve, how we take a look at a situation, step back, maybe take a bird's eye view, and kind of evaluate what is the best option for me in this moment. And then we have working memory, organization, time management, prioritization, and task initiation. These are the ones that people mostly think about when you hear executive functioning, and they're really important. It's how we create and maintain our space. It's how we organize our things, how we organize information, and it is also important for our decision making, making sure that we're prioritizing things that are urgent, things that are important versus things that can wait or things that don't necessarily need to be done right now in this moment.
All right, so if you think of the brain as the engine for learning and self-regulation, right, getting through life, right, the brain controls it all, then executive function is the driver of that engine. And so when you think about executive function, though, know that a lot of that happens in the frontal lobe. That's the biggest part of the brain. However, if you look at this picture, image, I really like it because it really lays out the different areas of the brain and what it may be responsible for. But hopefully, as you look at it more carefully, you realize to function in your everyday life, there's a lot of connections that need to be happening that affect that frontal lobe. Okay, so like Chanel said, executive functioning is not something you're born with. It's something you have to train. And yes, the frontal lobe does need to develop, which does, by the way, up to about age 25 or so. However, you need to still train all those different connections to work together to be effective, right? For executive functioning to be effective. And these skills are something you learn throughout your life and should be modeled to your child every day. All right. And truly, executive function is everything that you do. It could be, I'm thirsty. So, how do you get up to get that glass of water, to something more involved, like how do you manage your time to complete an assignment? Okay. Oops. So what's really interesting is Cambridge Brain Sciences, which is someone we do work with and do research with, by the way, but this is a separate study. They found that weak connectivity between the different regions of the brain may be the reason why some kids struggle. And the severity of how much they struggle has to do with the severity of those disconnections. And that's important to note because if you are trying to get your child to be independent, if you want them to improve their executive functioning, then you need to improve those connections. And the great news is your brain can change. The brain can be trained all throughout your life, even past age 25 when your brain stops, so-called developing. But those connections, they're constantly flowing. So getting to the root of the issue is essential. And that's something Brain Balance does for all the kids that come in. We want to understand why, right? Go back to that why. Why are they struggling? Why can't they do X, Y, or Z? And where are those immaturities in the brain and those disconnections happening? And so if you're trying to improve independence, then you need to improve executive functioning. In order to improve executive functioning, you need to improve those cognitive tasks. One really neat thing about Brain Balance is that through the Cambridge Brain Science research we did, we actually study about 12 different areas of cognition, including different types of memory, attention, reasoning, and 11 of the 12 tests that we studied had a statistically higher improvement, right? So a statistical improvement in the kids who went through our program. So it's done through simple exercise and training, and that's what we want to talk about as we move along too. So essentially, what do we want? A balanced brain We need all areas to be chatting with each other effectively. It doesn't mean you're a perfect person. It just means you're not struggling more than the person next to you, right? Things are flowing like they're supposed to. However, we see a lot of kids where there is some imbalances and it shows and manifests in different ways. Perhaps it's with their learning, perhaps it's way they make friends or don't make friends, how they manage their own emotions and communication patterns, even motor skills. That's a big red flag usually. And when you have signs of imbalance, once you understand those signs of imbalance and understand where those weaknesses and strengths are, then you can approach them and support them more effectively, right? Again, building that foundation. Right now, your child probably has cracks in that foundation. Your job and our job, if you need our help, is to fill in those cracks appropriately. So I mentioned the good news is the brain can change. Let's talk about what we can do to help them reach greater independence, and I'll talk a little bit more about the brain connectivity later on as well. So tips to teach independence, remember, it's your job to provide them the opportunities and provide them the support and the chance to fail to learn, fail to succeed, right? That's really important, that growth mindset. And it's your child's responsibility to take advantage of these moments, right? But it starts with you. You have to provide them these opportunities. You have to learn how to let go sometimes and allow them to fail. And really, again, give them the opportunity to rise to the occasion. And what it looks like for a 2, 3-year-old will again look different to a 7, 8-year-old, which will look different for a 12, 13-year-old, which will look different for an 18-year-old, right? So Chanel's going to give you some hands-on real tips you can teach your students now, and we'll break it up by age and ability as well.
All right. So these are a couple strategies, and we have on the right side some more specifics of what you can do, why it's helpful, and what it's exactly doing for your child. So ability expectations, we're going to go through those in the next few slides. They're divided up by age, but again, just because your child is 3 doesn't necessarily mean that they're at that level. They might be higher, they might be lower. They're just guides, so we'll get into those in the coming slides. So with the step-by-step instructions and learning to let go, obviously that's a lot easier said than done, but we want to be here and we want to be really simple with the things that we're asking them to do, and we want to break them down for them. So scaffolding supports is going to look like maybe giving 5 prompts to get their morning routine done, and then over the next couple of days, reducing it to 3, and eventually you'll get to 1, and eventually they'll do it without you even asking. That's the goal, right? That's what independence looks like. So with structure and routines, you want to help build a structure that your child can follow, that they can learn, and that they can memorize and be confident in what they are doing in that day. And on that same page, you're also teaching flexibility. So yes, they do have a schedule. They wake up, they eat breakfast, they go to school. What happens if the car breaks down, right? Then you can start to add in those little bits of flexibility and what you can do in different situations. Having structure also reduces a lot of anxiety. They know what's coming next, they know what to expect, and they know how to prepare because you're helping them to prepare. With choices and responsibility, a lot of times kids have a big list of things that they have to do, and they already know they don't want to do it. But one fun way that you can kind of include them in decision making is giving them the option. Do you want to do your homework before dinner? Do you want to do your homework after dinner? They still have to do their homework. They can't get out of it, but at least they have the choice to either do it before or after dinner. With accountability mindset and encouraging exploration, we do want to acknowledge both achievements and failures. It's really easy to only praise when they do something well, but when they do fail, talk about it. Talk about what went wrong, and then how can they make better decisions the next time that happens. With growth mindset specifically, wanting to encourage and embrace those mistakes. They're going to happen, right? We've all been there, we know that. And I think it's important to really encourage and embrace those mistakes so that they can learn from them and not be scared of them. With healthy risks and practicing open-mindedness, they don't know a lot of the things that they like. They don't know a lot of the things that are out there. So encourage their questions, encourage their discussions, and be open-minded with them to model and show them that, you know, those things are out there and they want to know more of them. With positive reinforcement, we do want to be specific when praising positive behavior. Instead of saying, you know, you did great today, really give them that thing that they did. You did awesome in the car when your brother was hitting you and you didn't say anything back to him. Very specific, very positive, and so he'll want to do that behavior again. All right, so this is the age / ability appropriate expectations, and we'll go through these. They're set up in the different ages, but let's pick a couple that we want to focus on. Connecting rewards with responsibilities, that's super important for getting them to do things that they don't necessarily want to do. So they're playing, they're having a great time. All right, let's put our toys away. Helping take care of pets, right? We want to play with them, but we also got to learn how to feed them and brush them and put their toys away. Limiting rules. So we want to keep it simple, but we want to be consistent. So even if you only have 1 or 2 rules, no shoes on the carpet, whatever it is, be consistent every single time so that they get into that habit. The next age group, 5 to 8, you're going to want to increase some responsibilities. Let them help you with chores. Let them get excited about helping you with chores. Let them sort the laundry in the way that they think it's supposed to be sorted, right? And then teach them how to actually do it. Set up mealtime, clean parts of the house, obviously with supervision, but you want them to be included and you want them to be excited. Same thing with growth mindset again, effort over out. They're not going to know how to wipe down the table correctly, right? But effort is what we want to see versus the outcome in these situations. Self-belief and self-efficacy, do they believe that they can do it, right? Even if they don't know how, do they want to and can they do it? Emotional literacy, this is where we want to start labeling those feelings and helping them. You know, are they mad? Are they sad? Are they angry? And letting them understand and feel those feelings. This also helps with problem solving when they do feel those emotions and finding those coping strategies and different to resolve those feelings.
And I just want to throw in there, social emotional learning is something that so many of your kiddos are having direct curriculum on in school now, but it's something that should be done at home too. So labeling and understanding one's feelings and that self-awareness is really important throughout your entire life, because if you can't problem solve and you can't talk about how you feel and you can't regulate your feelings because you don't understand it, that's a problem, right? And part of independence is understanding yourself and your needs and communicating those needs. Okay, so next.
Yes, so the 9 to 12 age, again, whether they're higher or lower is up to your discretion, but we do want to increase responsibilities. Let them make their own simple meals. It can be something as heating up tortilla and cheese in the microwave, right? But they did it. They chose it and they did it. So let them do those simple meals. More difficult house chores with supervision, vacuuming, trimming plants, things that they see you do that you want to include and encourage them to do. Avoid being directive. So this can be tough, but you do want to, again, offer those choices for the tasks that must be done and provide opportunities for them to make their own decisions. Include them, include them, include them. So again, I have choosing to do homework before dinner, clear expectations, making sure we're creating clear boundaries and the consequences. And again, being consistent with that. If the punishment for something is one thing, be consistent every single time it happens. So the third above, we have with increased responsibilities, getting a little bit more elaborate chores and different things around the house. So really including them and giving more responsibility with things that matter, right? Making a meal or helping you make a meal for the family, that matters. Cleaning the bathroom, completing laundry independently. Those are things that they are going to feel accomplished because they completed a task that's important to their life. Facilitating pre-planning, demonstrating how to plan ahead. So maybe it's getting items ready for the weekend, they're going on a trip, or you guys are planning to do something fun. Include them in the pre-planning steps so that they can feel the accomplishment of the outcome when that event happens. And then the last one, super, super tough, letting go. Instead of control, go for influence. You, again, want to offer those choices and let them learn from those mistakes if they are mistakes, or let them celebrate in those wins, those accomplishments. Give them space to find independence, and don't buy into arguments. Encourage them to give you the pros and cons of a situation, talk about cons, give your opinion, but again, don't buy into the arguments. Include them in the conversation and include them in the decision making.
Yeah, and just remember, this is ability appropriate, right? We broke it down by age, but your child may be chronologically 13, but functioning more at a 7-year-old level. That's important to know. So the next thing I want to go into is if you're encouraging encouraging them and you're following through on your end, but you still need some help, you know, what more can be done? Oh, sorry, we're running short on time, so I'm going to just fly by this real quick. But all of us have executive function strengths and challenges, and these are resources we want to share with you if you're interested. When it comes to understanding where they're struggling, which helps the frustration level hopefully come down, right? Understanding is key in all of life. We do have some questionnaires that we can share with you. Again, please reach out to us if you're interested. You can reply to our email, follow-up email. But this book here, Smart But Scattered, is another great resource for parents, okay? So I'm gonna skip past this because we don't have time. So what I was trying to say is if there's still issues and you don't know what else to do, please reach out to us. My main mission at Brain Balance is to be a community resource. Now, we are a non-medical facility. We have a holistic, personalized program, very integrated program for each individual child, but we first need to know what's going on, like I said. So in our assessment, we do look at a lot of different areas of development, the whole child. This is just a preview. It's pretty quick, though. It goes by in about, you know, hour and a half to 2 hours max usually. And you know, we're able to give you again an understanding and help you hopefully explain why some of the behavior seeing, good or bad, are happening, and then what can we do to really capitalize on them and help them thrive. So we again look at a lot of different areas of development, including a cognitive assessment to help you understand where's their level of attention, different types of memory, inhibition, and reasoning as well. And we'll go over that report usually about 24 to 48 hours afterwards. And the cost normally is $195, but for being part of this assessment and registering, we do have an assessment special for $145, but it's only valid until this Friday. So if you haven't had an assessment with us before, if you're interested in learning more about your child, I have a lot of parents that just come to us just to get the assessment because nobody else is like us. Please let us know, but we'll be following up with you as well. So we're a solution that works. We've worked with over 45,000 kids and families across the nation for over 10 years now. A lot of research that supports what we do, including if your child has ADHD or issues with attention and focus. Harvard University's McLean Hospital just published a white paper last year showing how pretty much we're almost as effective, or actually as effective as a child with ADHD who's on the correct medication and on the correct dose without all the side effects and long-term positive results as well. You can see a lot of that research on our website. And one of the biggest things I want to talk about is confidence. Your mental health, we are hearing a lot about it in society now, and I'm so glad. That's huge. If your child doesn't feel capable, confident, doesn't feel like they have any sense of agency, right, or autonomy, then of course they're not going to be independent. But the kids who come through here, I call it a positive snowball effect. As they're making those great brain connections, they're succeeding and thriving outside the center too generally, and how can you not feel good? And so this great paper came out last year where nearly all the kids who came through the brain balance program had a 40 to 50% improvement in mental health. So think about that too for your own kid, right? If they're not as independent, think about why. Once again, why are they not as are they feeling good? Do they feel capable? Do they understand what you're asking? Those whys are key. So next steps, call us, let us know if you have any questions, if you want to set up an assessment, if you have any family or friends that are interested or may be interested in this program, let them know too. We have resources that you can click on the last slide when we send that out to you tomorrow. And here are some books to support you in your child's learning and development too, besides the Smart and Scattered. Just so you know, if you do have a child with ADHD or issues with attention and focus, I do have a workshop happening next month. It is run through the military, but you don't have to be part of the military to enjoy the workshop. But you'll get a full overview of what exactly is going on and what can you do, again, at home to help them focus, especially in this day and age with distance learning. A lot of parents are seeing some issues come along, okay? So stay connected with us. We have a lot of resources on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is where we'll share a lot of our previous workshops too. So if you want to learn more about executive functioning, I did do a mini workshop last month that is on our YouTube channel, but I will be doing a more full, thorough workshop in April as well that I'll post about. Okay, so I want to give you time to ask questions. I apologize, we're running a little bit behind right now. We just started a little bit late too, but I want to throw it out there. If you would like, you can put your camera on if you want us to put a face to your name, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question, or feel free to type it in as well. What are you struggling with? Do you still need questions about? We can always speak privately as well. Don't feel pressured to talk now. Again, we'll be following up with you this week. And thank you, Chanel. Great job. Hopefully her tips helped you today too, and there's a couple aha moments. And if you don't have questions, that's okay as well. If you don't mind sharing what's one takeaway, what's something you can do, whether tonight, tomorrow, this week, I would love to hear your feedback. What's something you can do that you learn or want to practice on? Maybe it's nothing new, but it's a refresher. What's something you can do in the very near future to start that training, start that coaching?
Yep. Okay, we're
Oh,
here.
I hear Sarah and Daryl. Yes, go ahead.
You want to ask about the compliance? No, you go for it.
Hi. So one of the questions I guess that we have with Asana is compliance.
So how do you guys deal with that? Because we've been doing ABA since he was 18 months. And he's gained a lot of skills, but
Great.
we offer a lot of choices. He's just not down to do things that are not his choice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think I understood your question, so I'll repeat it. What do you do for your child who's been ABA for quite some time now? It sounds like I'm not sure how old he is now.
Right.
However, all the choices, if he's just not interested, he's not interested. Correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. If
Exactly.
it's
Okay.
his,
So what do you do?
go about
Yeah.
it.
What do you do? So there's two things, and I hope that ABA has helped with. Option A is really understanding what does motivate him. It's very rare that a child or a person is not motivated by anything. Although I've seen that. We've dealt with that a couple of times here, where a child can really just do nothing and sit in a dark room and be fine. But that's what motivates them, right? You have to understand what motivates them. How do you get them to earn those different privileges rather than them probably take advantage of the situation and knowing if they throw enough of a fit or if they don't do it, eventually they're going to get the iPad anyway. So, so a lot of it is perseverance on the parents' end and being able to hold out. And I know that's again more difficult. It's easier said than done. It's difficult to do, but if you can hold out on that child not earning that reward, they're gonna eventually be more likely to do it, right? It's also called an extinguishing behavior, where if you want a certain behavior and not another, oftentimes maladaptive behavior will escalate. And that tells you actually that it's what you're doing is working because they're trying to up the ante, right, to get what they want. So that's one thing. The other thing is what we see a lot of is a lot of times these kiddos, they don't have that balance, right? And so if there's cracks in that foundation, that motivation piece and the incentive piece doesn't always work because it doesn't always make sense in their brain either. Or what you're asking them to do doesn't always click. Maybe just there's things lost in translation as well. So giving them a foundation to work upon and for those expectations to be realistic, you have to know where those deficits are. So that's a couple just brief answers to your question.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other
We'll
questions?
probably do the assessment, Colin.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, we would love to see you for this. Yeah, just it's great because again, you're gonna get answers that you couldn't get and don't even think to ask sometimes in other facilities, or you have to go to all these different appointments to get similar answers. So it's really neat to be under one house. And again, we're the experts. We've been dealing with so many different challenges for so long, and really help provide some comfort in that. Hey, it's not just me, right? There's something going on.
Yeah.
What about other folks? I don't see anybody else with any questions, or what are some takeaways as well that you can implement? I want to make sure that this was, yes, it was a teaser, but I want to make sure that you got what you needed out of this as well. And if not, again, we can talk afterwards when we follow up. We got Habermel and Veronica. Okay, looks like folks are got what they needed. So I appreciate you spending some time out of your evening to join us and learn a little bit. I strongly believe education and knowledge is power, and that's how you can improve society and improve your household and support your child to the best of your ability. And just give yourself grace, all right? Everyone's doing the best that they can, and I appreciate you being part of this workshop, like I said, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much.